I never went and got tested for having hepatitis C. I was told by a social worker at the Alfred Hospital I'm a haemophiliac, and they never used to screen for hepatitis or HIV during the 80s and early 90s. I was 14 years old, and I went in there with my mother, and the social worker told me, explained that I'd contracted it sometime in the last 5 years. They were apologetic, but there wasn't a lot offered. Back in the 90s, there was no treatment, there was certainly no cure. You just kind of had to live it. When I found out, I was very confused. I had a lot of questions, but I didn't know who to ask. I was too embarrassed to ask. I didn't tell many people, hardly anyone, that I had hepatitis C. For years I kept it as a big secret. Only really my family knew. And I didn't talk about it much. I kept it to myself. It's only now that I really feel I can talk about it years later. There was a lot of stigma associated with hepatitis C, being associated with risky behaviours. I didn't acquire the virus that way, but regardless of how you've got it, you need to get treated. It is a bit of a time bomb in your liver. The doctor didn't really tell me a lot about what the condition is. I started to ask some questions later. I only got to understand that it's a disease that impacts on the liver, and it stops the liver from working properly. And the implication would be that eventually your liver would fail, and within 10 or 20 years, maybe less, you'd be dead. There wasn't a lot they felt they could do, and it meant I was feeling like I was very isolated. I couldn't touch anyone. I didn't know how long I was going to live for, and it was a pretty miserable way to grow up, to be honest, being a carrier. I lived with the disease for 10 years before I went to a specialist to get it treated. Because it had been diagnosed early, I didn't get into any particularly bad habits with drinking or sleeping around. So I was in pretty good shape. Even though I lived with it for over a decade, eventually it was starting to have an impact, and put me on a drug called interferon. Interferon started to be available about the year 2000. It wasn't recommended for me at first because it was a really tough medication to take. It had a very low success rate and a lot of side effects. It made you feel pretty miserable. But eventually my liver started to show signs of cirrhosis, and it was decided that I should go on that medication. So I took it for 6 months. It worked immediately. After my first blood test, I found out that I'd cleared the virus. I haven't had the virus come back. I've been living clear for over 10 years now. The main thing in managing disease is to stay away from risk-taking behaviours. Obviously not sharing needles. If you do have hepatitis C, you shouldn't be drinking too much. That's probably pretty good advice anyway. Really just, consult with doctors, find a specialist. Your GP can recommend someone who can get you tested, and these days it's easier to get treatment. My advice would be to be upfront, but don't be afraid of the stigma. I think it is something that we need to challenge. Regardless of how you got hepatitis, you deserve treatment, you're entitled to treatment. The new treatments that are around have a huge success rate. With genotype 1 hepatitis C, the success rate is over 95%. The treatments are just a couple of pills you take each day. It has virtually no side effects, and it helps clear the virus. There is a lot of support available, particularly from Hepatitis Victoria. There's a lot of community health centres. There's a lot of help out there that you can get. These days, I'm good. I made a full recovery. I live a very healthy lifestyle. I get a lot of exercise. I've been to the Himalayas. I've cycled across Australia. My story is a success story, and other people living with hepatitis C can see the change as well. So I'd encourage everyone to go and get tests, go and get treated, go and talk to your GP. If you do get hepatitis C, it's not the end of the world. It's not the death sentence it used to be. And the new treatments that are available now are very easy and they're very effective.